Hey, it's me and Brian Roecker, my friend, my childhood friend and Beachbody Coach.
What's up, everybody?
It's such a pleasure to be joined by Brian because how often do you get a reunion going between two of the most popular kids who ever attended Westview Elementary School? Right? We were in kindergarten together, and this guy, all debonair, cool looking now with the Dwayne Rock Johnson look, the Vin Diesel look, and you should see the super thick glasses he had in kindergarten, right?
Nice butterfly collar, too. That was fantastic.
Welcome, Brian. I wanted to ask you to be on my new FitSpaz podcast. Of course, this is FitSpaz RADIO. That's his daughter, Maddie, over there. You can walk over here and say hi into the camera if you want. You can even talk into your dad's mic if you want.
Hi.
Hi, Maddie. Is that okay that she's going to be on the internet, like, in this context?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Because I noticed she has her own Instagram, and so you're just a really bad parent letting her put herself out there like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely horrible. We're exposing her to everything right now, and no, we actually monitor that pretty close. We every post and every friend that she has on Instagram. So
good move, man. I'm a father too, and thank goodness we're not there yet, but I feel like it's close. My daughter just went to her first day in kindergarten today.
That is awesome. So how was it for her?
I think she had a lovely time. She's already loving the teacher and loving the classroom, and I really love the teacher too. I wasn't too fond of the one last year, but this one I'm really into. She's a nice lady.
Very nice. Yeah, I remember kindergarten fondly, so that should be awesome.
Did you had Miss Inglis too?
Yeah, absolutely. We were actually in the exact same kindergarten class.
You don't, not to be overly morbid, but do you remember one occasion when she was like crying because one of our classmates passed away when we were in that class? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, she was so distraught and didn't know what it was about at first, and just like as a little kid, that really affected me.
I remember it. That's how I was like, oh my goodness. You know, that kid, I think his name was Mark, was it? I don't remember.
I actually don't
remember. I was at his house once, but I remember he would grab a trash can, and this is really an uplifting podcast, and he would be coughing up this stuff. I don't know what his problem was, but rest in peace, bro. May we be reunited someday.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So aside from our long storied public school that we have in common, man, you're my Beachbody coach. You introduced me to Beachbody.
You know, it was one of those things that actually, I remember correctly, you kind of saw what I was doing and just approached me because, you know, I try to make it open for everybody and make it seem like it's something everybody can do. Mm-hmm. But it's not about sales. It's about making sure that it fits for the person that I'm interacting with.
Yeah, you weren't overtly trying to sell me on it at all. I just caught wind of what you were doing. I saw your before and after pics. For those who don't know, Brian used to be like 80 pounds heavier.
It was this guy.
And he used to, like in your own words, I think you said you used to just sit on the couch and eat potato chips.
Yeah, you know, after I got married, got really comfortable with things, and the pounds just kept packing on, and soon I found myself at my heaviest ever, like over 240 pounds. So
my goodness, man. And what was the catalyst that made you just one day decide you want to do that, or was it kind of gradual and then all of a sudden you were heavy into it?
You know, it was kind of a combination of both. You know, first my wife started losing a little weight herself. She kind of inspired me to do something for myself, and then we had this health thing at work where we could get a little bit of money off of our insurance if we like participated in certain events and stuff like that. Part of it was taking like blood pressure, getting your glucose levels, that sort of thing. And I stepped on the scale and it said 245, and I was just like dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that I even weighed that much. And I had been dieting on and off most of my adult life, some success, and always those dirty pounds came back with some of their ugly friends, and I just kept on getting heavier and heavier.
It seems to me like you're the true story of somebody who lost tons of weight, got fit, and it's changed everything for you, right? Like your entire life seems different now that it revolves around fitness and Beachbody.
You know, it really is, because, you know, there's certain parts of my life that were always present, you know, God and my kids and my wife and everything like that. But the interactions that we all have now, you know, The fact that some of these mud runs that I do and stuff like that, that my son goes on them with me, that my daughter and I are actually doing size together, the new Shanti program. That would have never happened. I would have told my kids to go exercise, or if they asked me to sign them up for something like that, I would have laughed at them and said, well, maybe when you're 18, I'll sign you up. But, that would have never happened. I was the coach that yelled from the sideline to run faster. And, after this change happened for me and lost that 80 pounds I lost, then it was showing them how to exercise and, being the example for them.
And speaking of the involvement of your kids, your wife has done some Beachbody and lost a tremendous amount of weight, and your parents have both done it, and your sister has done stuff. So you're like the quintessential Beachbody family. You've introduced this to all of them.
I still blame my wife for starting it all. She kind of inspired me, and it kind of trickled downhill from there. And she didn't even start with Beachbody. In fact, a lot of hers was just old-fashioned hard work and watching what she was eating. But it definitely helped. Beachbody helped, a lot of my family get fit, and at this point, a lot of friends too. So it's pretty amazing what it's done for our family and the way it's changed our lives in a positive way.
Your dad's strength and stamina actually blow me away, because how old is he?
So he's 67 now.
Fascinating. It's fascinating that he's doing these extremely hard programs. Even I'm fascinated that he has the open-mindedness to just do size and put himself out there like that. My dad would never do that in a million years.
I think it's probably a family trait, because my dad and he would ask me to do whatever dumb thing he wanted to do with me. And then he would take me to go see wrestling as a kid, all the time, Hulk Hogan and all that. And what dad's going to go take their son to do that? But he took it and he hated it. I found out years later.
He did?
He hated wrestling, and he took me anyways. But it was just to do something that I want to do. So when the whole Beachbody thing came up, he was into it enough that he kind of came to Fit Club, but wasn't really in shape. At 65, he did T25, and he actually got abs enough at 66
Holy
is when
cow.
he finished, that Beachbody contacted him about being in the infomercial. So it was kind of amazing.
Well, your dad is amazing, actually, in that way, because like I said, my dad would never do that. My dad walks 6 days a week for 45 minutes a day, which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
On top of smoking a whole buttload of cigarettes. But, and your dad must love you more than me, because my dad never would have taken me to see wrestling. He took me to see Goonies when I was a little kid, and he hated it. He absolutely hated it. He probably remembers to this day how he hated seeing Goonies that one time.
Yeah, I still have a piece of the Honky Tonk Man's guitar in my basement that we got at one of the wrestling events.
Like when they smashed it up or something?
Yeah.
Cool, man. So, we just did the Warrior Dash recently. How was your experience doing that? What did it, how did it make you feel?
I'll tell you what.
Because you've done it multiple times.
Yeah, and every time that I do one of these events, a mud run, Warrior Dash, Spartan Race, any of these, it puts me on such a high. It makes me feel like I can do anything. So it actually makes all my workouts, after that, for the next couple of months, that much better, because I realize how much I'm capable of, and it just pushes me harder.
And all these things, the workouts and Warrior Dash, for me, I know they've redefined my belief system about myself a little bit. Looking at my before and after picture with Body Beast, but furthermore, getting through 3 miles of that crazy race and injuring myself, I was like, holy cow, this was amazing. My only regret was I didn't have the time to hang out and enjoy everybody celebrating the day and stuff. So that's what I want to do next year. I don't know about you. I want to hang out and enjoy the victory of finishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these celebration areas where they have the bands playing and, it's like a huge party. It's kind of fun to be there with people, catch up with other people that that might have raced at the same time you did or later or something like that, and just commence with them about what their experience on the course and what they thought about the new obstacles and that sort of thing. It's pretty fun.
Did it change up much from last year in terms of the number of obstacles and the ones that they did have?
There was a couple new ones, but overall it was almost the exact same course. In years past, they've changed it significantly, but this time it was fairly fairly similar in terms of the number of obstacles and the obstacles. They kind of changed where they were on the mountain a little bit and added, like, I think 2 new ones, but otherwise it was pretty much the same. But, again, I love it. And honestly, if my daily exercise could be doing these mud runs, unfortunately,
You'd be a mega beast after a few weeks or something.
I might lose all the skin on my knees too. And
oh yeah. If I did it again, I certainly would know where to avoid injury. I'll tell people a silly story. I don't know if you laughed at me or what you thought in your head when I told you I didn't want to get my shoes muddy and dirty, but they cleaned up pretty well. I'm wearing them right now. And I said, okay, I don't give a crap what people think. I'm going to tie off plastic bags over my shoes and just climb through there like that. And it never would have worked. It never would have worked at all. As it is, I almost lost my shoes.
Coming out of that. If you would have had those baggies, you would have slipped on the climb out of that.
Yeah, I think so. So you thought that was a lame idea. You just never told me. Well, you were just hoping I would do it to have the story.
I quietly tried to tell you, and I think Tommy tried to tell you a little bit too, that yeah, you could, but maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do that. But I mean, I looked down at my shoes and I was like, oh, my Nikes they just look like muddies now, completely covered, and I didn't like that very much. I hurt my hands and I bonked my knee, but you didn't get injured on that day, right?
Maybe a few scrapes and bruises. The thing about it is that, I mean, I even had some sort of cut on the top of my head, but the adrenaline that I get from doing these races, I could have a huge gash and have...
It helps you blast through all that.
Yeah, I don't even notice it. The worst injury I've had so far during the Spartan sprint down in Fort Carson, you have to carry a large cement ball back and forth across the course and do some burpees in between.
Sounds horrible.
I think it weighs like 80 pounds or something like this. I felt so powerful when I got done with that obstacle. I threw the ball down at the ground. It bounced and hit my leg. I actually worried that I had busted my leg in the middle of this race.
Just accidentally.
Yeah.
That can totally happen. There was the one where there's like a wall and we're pulling ourselves up with a rope. I was like afraid the rope was going to break or something. It's probably extremely strong and not going to happen, but I had a fear of that. But I pulled myself over so easily I couldn't believe it.
And that's the thing is that, when you said that you're going to do this, there was a big smile on my face on the other side of the phone when I heard you were going to do the race with me, because not only it's fun to do with friends and stuff like that, it's a good time, but honestly, I knew how powerful that makes people feel. And I love when people go out and do these sorts of races, because on the other end of these things, it becomes one of those things where if I said, hey, come over here, I want you to run through this brick wall, you'll say, which one? Instead of like, I can't do that.
Right. It redefines what you think you can do, getting out there and doing something crazy like this. I mean, so of all these things you've done, is it the cumulative of all of them that has made you realize, oh, you can do these things? Or was there one thing in particular once where you were like, wow, I really did that, and this changes, it's a game changer type deal?
Actually, all of them make me feel that to some extent. There's 2 in particular instances that really did this for me. Very first time.
Let me guess. Was it Insanity Max 30?
Actually, this run through the wall thing, the first thing was first time I finished Insanity.
Oh.
I finished it, and my wife said, while you're waiting to do your next program, you're bugging me that you're antsy about exercise. Go out and run. I don't run. So I went out and I laced up my sneakers. No, I actually hate regular running. Mud runs, love it. Regular running, not at all. So I went outside and I laced them up and I ran for 3 miles. I finished it in like 22 minutes, and I was astounded that I could actually do something like that. The next one was actually the first time I did the Warrior Dash. And the funny thing was I did it by myself. There's all these people around me, and I talked to them, and this couple over here had just finished like a half marathon the weekend before, and these guys over here had been in the same race, and the guys behind me had been training for months doing trail running and stuff like that in the mountains. I'm like, well, I've never done anything like this before, and I've never run a race as an adult, so I'll be the guy sucking wind and eating your dust behind you. About a mile into this, I like kind of gone clairvoyant. I wasn't noticing what was going on around me. I was just keeping pace, trying to go. And then I saw one of these people that I'd started the race with, the couple, and I passed them as I was going over the second obstacle. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I kind of noticed one of the guys that was one of the trail runners ahead of me. I'm like, well, my goal is to like catch him and at least finish with him or something like that. Well, I passed him, and I kept on passing people. And the last obstacle that year was actually that fire leap, and then it was like a sprint to the finish. And as I'm going over the last obstacle, I noticed the very last person that I had talked to prior to that race starting, that I was intimidated by, I was passing him as we were going over the fire, and I beat him to the finish line. And right then, ever since then, I was like, bring it on. What's the next challenge? Because I can do it.
It's fascinating how something like that can redefine in our minds what we're capable of doing. I remember a few years ago when I was just stuck in a rut before I started Kung Fu, and I was just sitting on the couch, not in good shape at all. It's sedentary for years. So I didn't gain a lot of weight. I've always been a super skinny guy, but like just sitting there forever. And finally I started doing Kung Fu and got out of sitting around all the time. And then I saw what you were doing, and I wanted to do other stuff to supplement fitness to get better in Kung Fu. And now like the Beachbody fitness has been taking the front row seat as far as what I'm really enjoying. It's fascinating, actually. I didn't think I was going to be able to finish Insanity Max 30. I would be the first week I was like afraid to start the next program. I didn't even do the first Friday fight in that program because I was like afraid of what it was. And then like I did it, and I was like, why the heck was I afraid of that?
So what makes you feel the most powerful in everything that you've been talking about?
It's seeing more recently, I showed you the before and after picture.
Amazing, by the way.
And so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, not that I'm super great or anything, just that I put in a lot of hard work, and I see a big compound difference over time. And I was such skinny bones, and seeing the mass grow. So in the mirror, I'm like, oh man, I'm still a skinny guy. But then when I look at the pictures, I'm like, holy crap, something substantial has changed. So it's seeing it over time that convinces me. So yeah, I got through certain things. My max out time during Insanity Max 30 would increase over time, and it increased greatly toward the end. That was one type of convincing myself I can do it, but that before and after of the muscles growing, it just blows my mind. It makes me want to keep going. I feel like it's an addictive process because I'm like, well, holy crap, how much more meat can I pack on my bones?
Well, and those small incremental changes that happen day to day, a lot of times people don't notice those. That's why I insist that people take those before pictures, because if you don't have those, the after pictures are almost meaningless because you can't see the differences day to day.
Right.
But putting those two together after those months that you've been doing all that hard work, it is amazing. I mean, you can really see the additional muscle you put on and all that. It's pretty awesome.
I look down at my arm like this, and I go, I'm so expletive skinny. And then, like, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, well, that's not too bad. I see it differently in the mirror. But then when I look in pictures, I'm like, no, there is more definition there. And especially when you compare it to there, it is very psychologically powerful. I don't know how far I'm going to take it. I don't know.
Mr. Universe?
I want to get big. No. I don't want to be a freak show big. And I think, Sagi looks great right about where he's at. He's not freak show big to me. My mom said, oh, he's too big. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, he's not too big. Looks pretty good. There are like some guys, Mr. Universe. I started reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding just recently, and he shows some pictures from different eras, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, up to the 90s. And they went through this whole progression where literally in the 90s, they look like freak show massive. It's not like about nice proportionality and symmetry and stuff. They're just freak show massive. I don't even look at him at his peak and think he's freak show massive. I'm like, oh, he looks really cool.
Well, and then they have that nice orange glow to them at this point, too, so that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. You mean now the old men do, or like? No,
I'm talking about these people, these competitors. And actually, I have some competitors that are good friends of mine, and nothing against it, but sometimes the amount of like spray tan that they put on when you see them like up close when they're about ready to compete.
Oh,
They almost
yeah.
have like an orange tinge to
Yuck.
them.
I don't like that. That's phony tan. I went out in the sun maybe 3 times this summer, and I got a nice enough brown. 3 times for about an hour each, and that did the trick for the summer, I think. You don't have to overdo it, people. For real. So what do you think is the most, is there a Beachbody program that is the most groundbreaking, popular of all? That is it Tony Horton something, do you think, or does it depend on the person or whatever?
You know, I think it kind of depends on the person. But I think that, you know, overall for Beachbody, I think that made it explode and I think that made it like a household item, regardless if people know the Beachbody brand behind it is P90X.
Right.
My grandma knows what P90X is, and you know she's 85, so you know if she can know that.
Well, you have a hip family. Because my dad doesn't know P90X from a Marlboro Light, I don't think.
But you know, honestly, at this point, I think that Shaun T is starting to take over that because not only do you have Insanity that
He's
was wildly
huge.
popular, but now it was T25 that was ginormous on infomercials and stuff like that. And you know, I'm sure that size is going to be huge right behind it.
You know, speaking of these fitness celebrities, I look at these guys, and in terms of their following online, like how many people are following them, how many people are engaging in their posts and stuff, they're as big as freaking movie stars, some of them.
Well, and you know, the interesting thing is in the right circles, they're treated just like movie stars. People like flock and like crowd all over them and stuff. But sometimes these exact same people can walk down the street, no one even knows who they are.
In the context, though, like, so when you're at Summit, everybody's going to be like, Shaun T! Of course, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but if he's dwelling in an area where there's the fitness niche, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, do you know who that is?"
Yeah, you know, and I think both him and Tony Horton both have kind of transcended being known outside of that circle. But you know, other than that, the rest of the trainers are kind of quiet, you know, on the side for the most part. Still, that they still have, you know, some a little bit ability to walk down the street without being noticed. But
Do you have a favorite, a number one favorite? Some people they definitely gravitate toward one or the other.
you know, and I can't let it go. You know, I might have a different answer if it wasn't that my first program, the program that helped me lose all the weight as quickly as I did, was Insanity. So
Yeah.
Shaun T is my guy, and
Yeah.
you know he's my favorite. But you know, there's so many of those personalities that I love for different reasons. You know, I think probably the smartest as far as nutrition and fitness goes is actually Sagi, creator of Body Beast. Shalene Johnson, you know, I'm kind of part of her
Right.
tribe, and I just agree with her a lot on a personal level. Even though I'm not really good at some of her programs, Turpify, I'm not awesome at Pio, I'm
Right.
not that flexible. But you know, on a personal level, I really love her. And some of the other trainers that they've had that have come through, just really nice people. Enjoy hanging out with them, and have become like friends on a personal level with them, which is you know awesome to kind of know them on that sort of level versus that level where there's thousands of people in their face.
Does being a successful Beachbody coach, do you think that gives you more credibility with those guys? Because they recognize you, you keep coming back, they see you. Or does that matter to them, or like
You know,
one person to the next? Or
they all have such a heart for what they do. I don't think that really matters. I think it's just because I've been around for several years now and been enough of these events that they've been at matters. I think the only part that, you know, being a higher ranked Beachbody coach might matter at all is that I help organize things in the local area. So when some of these trainers have come, I've had a little bit closer access to a few
I
of them.
see.
But other than that, honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Who's the best looking one, in your opinion, of all of them? Is this a bad question?
Well, you know, because bald is
Man or
beautiful,
woman, and it can be a platonic statement about their beauty as a person.
bald is beautiful, so Shaun T's my guy.
Okay, that's a good answer. Fair enough. I would have to say they just have a habit of picking beautiful people. But you know what I was going to say is I get a sense that they're very authentic people, and they're genuine and they're humble, because based on the values that Beachbody has, I don't think they would be inviting egomaniacs into their circle to do fitness and whatnot. Has anyone you've ever met in the terms of the Beachbody fitness trainers have they ever been an egomaniac, or like you've been like, oh, that guy's kind of not, or whatever?
You know, I'll tell you
Careful what you say.
Tony Horton definitely has a little bit of ego, but not an egomaniac. Like,
Not like off-putting. No, he's just funny.
no, he's hilarious, and he's a joy to actually talk to and be around. But he definitely has a little bit of ego, and but he really likes what he's done to help people, and he likes being out there and listening to people's stories and stuff like that. So he may have a little bit of ego about it and be like, "I'm Tony Horton" type of thing, but he doesn't.
It's not arrogant.
No, it's
not that kind of ego.
No. But and as far as the rest of it goes, I really haven't met any of them that have had ego. In fact, just the opposite. Very down to earth people. Some of them that have like cried with myself or family members about like just the transformations that people have gone through. A few of them that like at one summit in particular, my first summit I went to back in 2011, like stopped in the middle of the crowd and like prayed with my wife about something, which is who does that in a crowd of like thousands of people? Just stops and takes the time to do that unless they really have a heart for people.
And for their faith too. That's because some people kind of hide their faith. So I find that really interesting. They would do that.
Right. No, it was amazing, and the fact that after that she did that, she had her handler that was with her take down my wife's email address, and then they emailed back and forth for like the next year. And the next summit, without seeing her in the year in between, like wanted to find us and talk to us again to see how we were doing with everything.
It's amazing if you can make that kind of impression, especially when there's so many people and whatnot, man. But let me tell you, this has been very fun talking to you. Before we end, I want to bring up, thanks for coming to see me tonight, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
I hope in the
fun.
future you'll do this more, because I think we have a lot to talk about. And, if you come and do it with me, you can say, I want to talk about blah, and we can bring in a topic and tear it apart and stuff.
Let's do it.
But, probably I'm most insecure about how beautiful autumn is. I will end by saying that. But I want to bring up to everybody, this is FitSpaz Radio. This is kind of a new thing I'm trying to do. And I have a challenge group coming up on the 8th of September, the day after Labor Day. We were just talking about it, for Body Beast, okay? So I'm going to have information on my site, FitSpaz.com, or you can go to FitSpazRadio.com. It'll take you to the same place, because I'm amazing and I hooked it up to forward right to the same place. And what a lame thing that was to say. Notwithstanding, if you want to email me and give me your feedback about any of these little episodes I'm doing, send email to paul@fitspaz.com or paul@fitspazradio.com, because I set it up to do that too. You know what I'm saying? Give my stuff a little style. It's interesting having your daughter here, because it's like, I used to be around my grandma, and it was like a switch that would just make me stop swearing. And at this stage in my life, I'm not swearing as much as I used to. I used to be a really bad person, Maddie. I used to say a lot of bad words and a lot of bad things. Just for fun, to amuse people, I would shock the heck out of them. But yeah, you can see that over there. That thing over there, she probably could have looked at that and been like, ugh. There's Tommy Chong down there. Pretty cool, huh? I'm with Tommy Chong. Do you know who Tommy Chong is, Maddie? No? Oh, man. I guess we're pretty old, Brian.
Yeah, we might be.
So I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Go to FitSpaz.com, like I said. Check it out there. This is FitSpaz Radio, technically. Check out my other show called FitSpaz Recovery, which is about substance abuse and maintaining sobriety and so forth. I want to thank you again, Brian. I've had fun talking to you tonight. I want to thank Beachbody for the inspiration to do this and see if I can get more and more fit and bigger. I want to get huge.
Paul, thank you for everything you do. I mean, honestly, you're going to inspire a lot of people to their own fitness, and this is going to be fantastic.
So on that note, before we end, I just want to say it's not a big ego trip for me either. The first thing I say to myself when I want to do this is I want to help people, not just I want to be filthy rich and famous. It's not about fame for me. I would be pretty darn thrilled if I could have some people enter in to my life and change their lives for the better, being more fit and being happier, You know, it's more of like a way of life too. It's not just merely fitness, but learning you can change all kinds of things in your life if you put your mind to it. That's the lesson I'm going to leave everybody with Beachbody. But thank you everybody again for listening. I'm Paul, the producer. That's Brian Roecker, coach, father, hand glider, and whatever. I don't know. Everybody take it easy. The last thing I want to say is music provided by Kevin MacLeod. Peace, everybody.